right, so I was telling you guys about my past. So yes, I was an executive, creative executive at a television network. And since then, I have been doing this kind of as my, oh, hey, great. So, kind of as my side gig, you know, working with clients and everything. And recently I decided, you know, this is really where I'm good at, you know. I don't know if you guys are like this, but I've done so many things in my life. I don't know if you've read my bio on my website, but I've done so many things. And it's really great when you finally get to a place of like, man, I'm good at this. This is what I am good at. So I am now making this my full-time gig, and doing this live stream today and kind of talking to you guys is just a way for me to get to know you and you get to know me, because I know as writers, it's all about having trust, right? Like you have to trust someone to be able to read your stuff. You also have to trust that they're going to give you actual feedback, because a lot of the times people just kind of go, oh yeah, this is, you know, kind of good, or oh, this is great. And then you're not getting anything constructive. Or they're saying, you know, this is terrible, but that's still not constructive and that doesn't help you to move on. So I really believe in developing writers. I don't necessarily just want to do the rewrite for you or just write it for you. I want to help teach you how to write it. And if you decide, you know what, hey, I've written as far as I can go, Shannon, I need you to kind of jump in and take over the rest, then I can do that as well. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into Ozark. So let me know if you've seen Ozark. Let me know if you've seen all of it. If you've only seen like the first episode, if you've seen the first season, because there are going to be some spoiler alerts here. Not very many, because I'm going to speak in general, because I know a lot of people hate spoiler alerts. I'm not a person who hates them, but I know a lot of people are like, I didn't want to know that because I haven't seen it yet. So feel free to let me know where you are in it. But I think that there are 3 huge takeaways from watching Ozark. And for me, a lot of them are given like right in the first couple of episodes, especially by the end of the season. And the very first one is tension. Tension. Like, how do you create tension? You create tension with the information that we know, that maybe the characters don't know, that one character knows, that maybe the other character doesn't know. And then when you release that information, right? So let's say, for example, this is not an Ozark example because I don't want to just give away everything. But let's just give the example of, I find out that my kid is going to college, right? Now they're going to college and they have decided to take the money that I gave them and move and go backpacking through Europe. Let's just say that's what it is. But I don't know that. I, as the mom, as the character in the movie or in the film or in the TV show, I don't know that. But the audience does know that. Now, I can find out by the end of episode 1, or you can stretch that thing as long and as far as possible so that the audience is feeling like, oh my God, what is mom going to do when she finds out that this kid is taking this money and going backpacking in Europe and not going to college like they were supposed to do? How much more lying does kid have to do to keep mom off the case? How many more stakes are going to be raised while kid is trying to keep this information from mom? Versus kid just comes out and says, hey, mom, I'm not doing what I told you I was going to do. First of all, kids don't do that, right? Most kids don't do that. Most people don't do that. Most people don't actually say what they feel and what they mean. They usually kind of skirt around it. So you have to think about that same thing with tension. So let's now use Ozark as an example. We learn in episode before Marty finally says something to Wendy about it, and then realize that it's only because Wendy finds the video. He never intended on saying anything. Guess what that does for tension? Because Marty is making decisions about his family that he loves. He's putting his life in danger. He puts their lives in danger. And every time he makes a decision to not throw his wife under the bus, though we know she's cheating and he knows she's cheating, but she doesn't know, the tension just rises, right? Because at some point we're like, she doesn't even love you, Marty. Let her go. Let her die, you know? But he doesn't. And that creates tension for us because we know the moment is going to come where the information is out there. And then how is that going to help or hurt their current situation? So tension is everything. And Ozark does a great job at creating tension. All right. Now, number 2 is the ticking clock. Now, that sounds like an easy thing. And in Ozark, they make it very simple. A lot of times you might watch something and you kind of have to figure out, now, what's this ticking clock? And what I mean by ticking clock is why now? Why do we need to know about this now? Why is this happening right now? What's going to happen if we decide to do this 10 days from now, 20 years from now? Why now? For Marty, he's got to give that $8 million to the cartel within 3 months. That's all he's got. So that means every episode we're watching, tension is increasing because we know he's getting closer to that 3-month mark. It's made very simple and very plain. And the more simple and plain your ticking clock can be, the more your audience then invests in the goal, right? And Marty's goal is make this $8 million. Yeah. Within ticking clocks, stakes rise automatically because now we know why now. Why does it have to happen right now? Then that means your stakes are going to rise. Well, guess what? If he doesn't get the $8 million in 3 months, his family dies. Boom. Now we know why his goal is so important. Now we have something to invest in. And then don't forget, he's doing all of this for a woman who's cheating on him. Tension, ticking clock, stakes. The last thing I'm gonna touch on is complications, right? I call it the pursuit of happiness problem. I don't know if you've seen the Will Smith movie, The Pursuit of Happiness, but you're doing this for like 2 hours. And it isn't until the very last moment that the happy happens. Like it's an actual pursuit. Now, I'm not saying that that's what you should do because I actually didn't like the feeling of going down, 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 down for 2.5 hours. I was like, yo, give me a moment of happy somewhere along. Like I don't want to have to live this while I'm watching a movie. I want to be able to kind of vicariously be happy, you know? But what Ozark does is as soon as they're up, they're down. They're up, they're down. Oh, we acquired this new business. Well, now they're going to come shut it down. Oh, well, we're going to be able to use this guy to make money through his business. Oh, well, the infrastructure of the church burned down. Every single time something goes up, it goes right back down. Now, the thing about it is this is television. So you got to go up and down, or what are you watching? Right? We got to continuously see him going for his goal. Sometimes he's got to reach it. He just has to. And then as soon as we think smooth sailing, boom, something comes in and takes him down. Because if it doesn't, then we don't have another episode. If it doesn't, then we don't have another season, right? So there have to be complications. And for Marty, he's got all kinds of complications. The Snells are a complication. The drug cartel is a complication. The Langmores are a complication. Ruth is the antagonistic ally, right? She's a problem, but she's also all he has sometimes. That right there already creates tension, period, point blank. And so Ruth is like our love to hate kind of chick, right? We just want her to do right. And you know what? And she really just wants to do right, but that's just not her life, you know? So it's always good to kind of see, when is she going to be the person who provides the complication? And when is she going to be the person who provides the help? So those are just like the top 3 things that I feel like watching a couple of episodes of Ozark are like right off the bat. That's just what you're going to get from it. And I think anybody who's writing, whether you're writing a feature or you're writing a television script, you got to think of tension. And it doesn't always have to be some kind of dark crime, you know, drama for tension to be there. Like I'm going to do another one of these on Friends because I think that they very organically show you how to build a relationship and tear that relationship apart and make you still want that relationship to be there without driving you nuts. Like on Scandal, at some point you're like, look, be together or don't. I don't care. I was totally over Olivia and the president and was there for all 10 seasons of Friends because you're always going, well, what about about Rachel and Ross, and how do they feel about them now dating this other person or having other babies and marrying other people? Like, how does this make them feel? So tension doesn't always have to be dark for it to be tension. Stakes don't always have to be someone's life is at risk. Stakes can be losing the love of your life. Stakes can be losing your job. Stakes can be not being able to move into that house that you wanted. I watched Fracture last night for the first time. I'm a little late, but I watched it. And the stakes for him was not being able to have his dream job, because he's a guy who comes from very little means. So getting a corporate job meant that he was going to be able to kind of sail smoothly through the rest of his life. And then now, after taking on a case that he can't win, he loses everything. He's got nothing now, including his current job. So stakes don't have to necessarily be, life or death. And then the last thing is complications. If you think about your own life, you don't reach any goals without problems. Every now and again, there's something that you can reach that was just like easy, came to you, great. But most things you're gonna have to work towards, and there are gonna be blocks in the way, hindrances in the way. So the same thing is true for your character. You decide who that character is, what that character wants, and why, and then you put things in the way that knock it down. And as they're getting knocked down, that doesn't do anything but make them more, make them stronger, right? It makes them stronger, and it makes them want to reach that goal even more. So that's what you're going to be looking for while you're creating your story. So thank you guys for listening about Ozark. Now it's your turn. So I want you guys to go ahead and throw out, we have about 20 minutes to just kind of talk to me about what you want to talk to me about. If you have questions about the industry, if you have questions about what you're currently writing, like maybe you've kind of hit a roadblock and you're like, look, I've gotten to this place and I just don't know where I am now. Feel free to kind of throw things out at me and we can just have more of a conversation. If you want to talk more about Ozark, we can do that too. We can talk about anything you like to talk about. This is your free consultation. So you go ahead and type in what you want to kind of rap about, and then we'll get that ball rolling. And for those who don't know, my consultations are $50 for a half hour and $85 for a full hour. And during that time, just like now, we can talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. If you want to talk about a writing plan, then we can talk about a writing plan. And what I mean by writing plan is, if you're at the very beginning, then that means let's figure out your outline. Let's build your characters. Let's plan your plot points. Because especially for new writers, even though I tell all writers to do an outline, even myself, if you know where you're writing to, then you don't get off course. Everything that happens within your script needs to be consequential. If it's not helping or hurting your character reach their goal, you don't need it. All right, first question. Right now, is it more important to write a spec or an original pilot when trying to get a staff writing gig? Awesome question. If you're trying to get staffed, write a spec. Because the spec, for those people who don't know what a spec is, a spec script basically means that you're writing a current episode, an episode of a current television show. By current, I mean it's on regular primetime television right now, or if you're writing a soap, I don't know if anybody's writing a soap, it is on daytime TV. But we're not talking about things in syndication. So we're not talking about stuff that used to be on air that was your favorite thing when you were younger. We're talking about stuff that's on television now. And the reason that writing specs are better to get into a writing room is because it shows that not only can you follow characters that aren't yours, right? Not only can you jump into the middle of where they are, that means you've done your research, you know where they've been, therefore you know where they're going. So you can be a part of a staff, right? If you're writing an original pilot, it just shows that you're a good writer. Maybe if your pilot's good. But writing a spec shows that you can write someone else's stuff. And being on a writing staff is like being a journalist, right? They tell you what to write and then you go write it. They give you all the information that you need and you have to know what this person's character is. Like, for example, Grey's Anatomy has been on for what, 11, 12 seasons now? Can you give me something new for Meredith? That's what they want to know. Like, sure, you can go build some character nobody's ever heard of and make them interesting. But what can you do for Meredith? That's what they'll want to know. So I know I see your sad face, but it's true. You want to be on writing staff, you got to be able to work within the guidelines that are already set. All right, anybody else have a question? I see, Dwayne, you're just writing your first script. So can you tell me a little bit about what that process is like for you? Okay, here we go. Got another question in here. All right, here's the next question. Do you have experience with film and writing brand ecosystems, all aspects around the medium? I also, the relevant ones of today, writing diagrams, story structure systems. Hopefully I'm understanding what you mean. So I have experience in film and television. I'm not sure what you mean by brand ecosystems, or if you're asking if I write for social media. So if you can elaborate for me so I can understand a little bit, but I do make worksheets to help my clients along the way. So I do have outline worksheets, character building worksheets, story structure worksheets, if that's what you're asking. I've made a few diagrams that I've done in some of my in-person workshops to kind of help writers understand the process a little bit. Hopefully I'm answering your question correctly, but let me know if you mean something else. Okay, another question. I have a 2-minute piece I want to get your thoughts on. I create quirky characters and settings for ad work. This is only giving me half of this thing. That's why I can't read it. Oh, there we go. What's the better market for pursuing this more? For pursuing ad work? Is that your question? Because the advertising world is definitely a totally different beast. I'm not going to sit here and act as if I know about the advertising world. But what I will say is, if you've ever heard of Fiverr, or what's the name of the other, I can't think of the name of the other, I think I wrote it down. But on Fiverr, you're able to set yourself up as an expert who does ads for people. And then people come on there looking for that. And you're able to say, this is what I do, this is how much I charge, et cetera, et cetera. So it kind of puts you in a marketplace for people to find your work. Right, okay, great. So for advertisement, script writing for advertisement is totally different. So I would suggest kind of doing a little bit of research in that area to see, you know, how they do what they do. It's just like journalism. Like there are scripts for journalism, there are scripts for unscripted shows, there are scripts for advertising, and there are scripts for film and television. And they kind of all have their own structure and their own format. All right, let's see. Never was a writer, but I can write, but don't know what I'm doing. But the best way I learn is by only, yes, that's all you can do is start writing. That's it. A lot of times when people say, you know, I have some ideas, I'm like, okay, well, put them down on paper and then you're a writer. That's it. That's all you have to do to be a writer is write the stuff down. And then once you start writing it down, then we can kind of talk about how to help you get to the place of formatting it correctly, structuring it. A lot of people misunderstand, just like I was saying to classic reinvention, misunderstand that screenwriting is different from novel writing, is different from magazine writing, is different from even film and television have different formats, right? And the way that you structure the story is told differently. So for screenplays, it's all about action. It's all about what we see, right? Uh-oh, the chat went away. Okay, came back, great. It's all about action. It's all about what we see. So you're writing visually, right? Yes, and Final Draft does help a lot. Awesome, good thing you have Final Draft. But when it comes to how you're telling that story, instead of describing something to me for 5 pages like you can do if you were writing a novel, right? You got to be able to give it to me in 1 or 2 lines, and it's got to be visual. If I can't see it or can't hear it, it's not there, right? So you shouldn't have to tell me what's happening. Show me what's happening. And I know that you hear that a lot, right? Show, don't tell. If you haven't heard it a lot, you'll hear me say it a lot. But how can you show it to me versus telling it? And that's kind of one of the areas where new writers need the most help. Okay, what do I do after I've written a pilot for an original ideas? The next step to get it registered with the WGA, you can definitely get it registered. Getting it registered will help to make sure that, you know, the copyright is there. So if you're sending it out to people for them to read it, etc., you can definitely register it. If you know that you're going to revise a lot, then, you know, you might want to wait until you register it so that it can be as close to what you want it to be. Hopefully I'm not still breaking up. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I don't see anything on my end saying I have a bad connection. There was something a little earlier that said that though. So hopefully you can hear me now. But with the WGA, I would say wait until you get to a place where you kind of know that you're getting to the end of your writing process, and then you can register it. If you register every single thing that you write, it can possibly get to an expensive place. So I always tell people about the poor man's registration, right? If you print a copy of your script and mail it to yourself and never open it, then you've got a stamp on there that says when you created this thing. The same may be true for electronically sending things to yourself, because now there's a stamp that says, this is my idea, this is when I wrote it, this is when it happened. So I know several people do that these days, but I'll also just kind of touch on the whole trust thing, because I often have people, you know, want me to sign non-disclosures and all that kind of stuff. And I don't mind if that makes you feel more confident. However, this is one of those industries where you just have to trust or get out of the game. Because regardless to what you think, your idea is not that original. Somebody else is writing it. We're all living in the same time on this planet. A lot of us are having some of the same experiences. We're watching the same stuff on the news. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are having that same idea. And if 1 million people are having the idea, 1,000 people decide they're going to write it, 500 people actually do, 50 people get into a room and realize they executed it well or they haven't, and then 2 people actually go into development and one of them gets made, and it doesn't mean they stole your idea. So that thing about trust is just really big. You just have to say, look, I'm writing. Make sure you're sending it to someone you trust, and then you just have to put it out there in the industry. Register it for yourself, mail it to yourself, do whatever it is you need to do for yourself. But at the end of the day, everybody's making the same movie. Remember that year when Justin Timberlake and Ashton Kutcher had the same movie out at the same time? Friends with Benefits and No Strings Attached. Same movie. Does it mean that one of them stole the idea from the other? Probably not. How many of us have thought to ourselves, oh, it'd be really fun to make a movie about a guy and a girl who really want to be together, but get in the way, so they just decide to have sex and that's it. Right? It's not an original thing. So the same is true. Every story is boy meets girl, right? Every story is a love story. Every story is a finding self-confidence story. It's just about execution. So I would definitely say, don't worry yourself too much over, are they going to steal my idea? If you're sending it to a professional, if you're sending it to someone who's in the industry, they've probably read 10 other scripts just like yours before you even decided to contact them. So just kind of be open to what's going to happen. All right, let's see. What did I miss? Good. Okay. I don't think I missed any questions. Let me know if I did. It's funny because I almost went into advertising. When I say almost, I mean in undergrad. My undergraduate degrees are in English and journalism. My graduate degree is in film, but at Florida State, it's a program between the film school, the theater department, and the English department. So I did film and TV writing, playwriting, and creative writing. It's an awesome program. That's how much I like to write. So it was great for me. But in undergrad, I was thinking about going into advertising. And the best thing I did was join an advertising student organization. And we went and visited an advertising firm. And I got there and I was like, I don't want to do this. So I didn't sign up. It just was not what I thought it was going to be. So that's so funny that you're talking about advertising today. I ended up doing English and journalism, so young adult literature, just in case I decided to go into teaching. And then magazine writing. So yes, you will be able to watch this afterwards. So this is what we're going to do for you guys coming on today. We had a few more people who were supposed to join, but they didn't. So now they're going to miss out. And that's it. So this is what we're going to do. So like I said before, my consultations are usually $50 for a half hour and $85 for an hour. But because you guys came on today, I'm going to give you the hour for $50. But that means you have to sign up for it today because I'm only feeling like cheeky today. So I'm going to put my PayPal down here. You do not have to have a PayPal account. You can pay with a credit card. And once you pay, I'll be able to email you and we'll set up a day and time. If you're in LA, we can get together in person. If not, we can do a phone or video conference, whatever works best for you. But if you know that you're kind of at the beginning stages and you want somebody to guide you through the process, then we can have that conversation to talk about what that looks like. Start sending you some worksheets so you can start building your outline and building your characters and everything. So today and today only, if you sign up, then you will get the whole hour for just $50 instead of $85. Also, if you've already written your stuff and you're just ready to pitch, we can do the same thing. Consultations, we can talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. If you just want to pay because you want to hear my voice because it's so awesome, I mean, we can do that too. Or you can, actually talk about something in the industry. All right, for those of you who have already written your scripts and you need some professional notes. So let's talk about script coverage because there are a lot of companies that offer script coverage. And for those of you who have gotten script coverage from some of these companies before, you'll be able to know that I'm not lying, right? Most of these companies are going to send you back a synopsis, as if you need a synopsis of your own stuff, right? They're going to send you back their conclusions. And within their conclusions, they might say something like, oh, it's like this movie meets this movie, and the characters are great or the characters are bad. And then they're going to give you a recommendation of pass or fail or needs development or something like that. Now, that may be helpful to you if you get a pass because it may say, great, it's ready to go on to the next thing. If you get a needs development or a fail, then how does that help you develop your story to get it to the next place? So when I do coverage, I do page notes because I want you to know where the areas of confusion are. I want you to know where you could move this around and put this here and it will provide more tension. I want you to know how you can make your character more three-dimensional. I want to give you formatting notes, which you're never going to get at in other companies because they assume that you've gotten to a place where you know how to format. Well, let's not make that assumption. A lot of writers are self-taught, right? We're teaching ourselves. We're just kind of buying the program. And if the program puts it in a particular place, then we just assume that's where it's supposed to go. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. Sometimes the formatting is off, and formatting is everything in screenplays because, again, it's about visuals. It's about what I see, and the way I read the page is what I see in my head. I'm playing that movie in my head as I'm reading. So my script coverage is usually $75 up to 90 pages and then $1 per page thereafter. So what I'm going to do for you guys is if you're looking for some notes, some very detailed notes, and my notes are very detailed, you can go on Facebook and read my reviews under the professional pen. I'm going to do $75 up to 120 pages for your coverage. So instead of you having to pay the $1 per page after 90 pages, I'm just going to give it to you as a flat rate, $75. But again, we got to do that today. So my PayPal me is right in there. And once you send it over, then I'll email you. So you can email me your script and you can tell me when you need it back by, and I will make that happen. One of my clients is on here, so he can let you know that if I say I'm going to do it, I do it. And not only do I do it on time, but I usually do it early. I pride myself in that. Lastly, if you have already written your screenplay, you've already kind of had your notes, and you're now in a place of, look, I'm not great with the English language. That's totally okay. The fact is you care, right? Script coverage is always going to be subjective. The same way when you finally get your script to an executive's office, it's going to stop at the intern or the assistant's desk first. And they subjectively will decide whether it goes to the executive or not, right? You don't want typos. You don't want misspelled words. You don't want incorrect grammar because it takes away from the read. And when you're writing your screenplay, you're not writing your screenplay for the screen. You're writing it for the read because a reader is going to read it first. Because by the time it gets to the screen, it's going to be a whole nother movie anyway, because the director is going to come in and make it what they want to make it. The cinematographer, the producer is going to say, well, I need this and we want that. And we need this person to be the lead. So you got to change this. So don't write for the screen, write for the reader. Engage the reader. And guess what? If I got to stumble over your grammatical errors, I'm out. So let me proofread it for you. Okay. Let me proofread it for you. Also, if you've been given some notes already and you don't really know how to address them, or if you want me to address my own notes that I give to you, I can do that as well. So that's my revisions package. So in revisions, you get proofreading, you get formatting, you get coverage. So you're going to get notes from me. And then you also get minor story editing. So for example, if there is something like, ooh, this scene just moves right here, it just flows that much more easily, I'll just move it around for you and then add whatever kind of transitional stuff needs to be there within your story, right? If it's, ooh, if only the character hadn't said that, the tension would increase, then I'll just take it out. I'll cut the flat. I love to cut. Take it out. It's inconsequential. It's just a random scene that has nothing to do with nothing, doesn't help or hurt the character. It's got to go. And you allow me to do it, I'll do it. I'll cut it. Because sometimes it's your baby and you don't want to cut your baby, but I don't care about your baby and I'll cut it. So that's the revisions package. The revisions package is usually per page, but I'm just going to give you a flat rate. So if you have something for television, your flat rate will be $150. And FYI, for up to 60 pages, you're saving about 50% of that. For features, I will do $250 up to 120 pages. And usually 120 pages is a $500 fee. So you're going to save 50% on both of those. But you got to do it today. You've been writing. You've been hitting this wall. You know what questions you have, or you're at a point where you don't even know what questions to ask. That's what I'm here for. I am a writer for your writer. So go ahead and just say, you know what? I'm ready to get this script to the next level. I'm just ready. I've been busting my butt and it's just not getting to that place. Then let me read it. We'll do script coverage for $75 flat. Or you just kind of want to talk about it. You want to tell me what those areas are. You want to see where my brain takes you. Great. $50 for an hour. Make it flat. And if you're like, hey, I know I'm at a place where I've done my part. Don't think about having somebody else write for you as a negative thing. When you watch movies, as a writer, always stay for the credits. Don't leave before the credits. Get there early enough so you can see the credits during the main title sequence, and then stay at the end for the credits. Notice who gets what credit. Sometimes there's a story by credit. Sometimes there's a screenplay by credit, written by credit. Sometimes there's the word and, sometimes there's the ampersand sign. All of those things mean different things, right? Story by means it was your idea, but maybe you didn't write the script. So that means for those people out there with ideas, there's a place for you. If it says written by, then that means you wrote it. Doesn't necessarily mean it was your story, but it does mean that you wrote it. If you see the word and, that means that they were the next person to do revisions, right? So you might see this person and this person and this person and this person and that means all of those people took a pass at that script. Every single one of those people. And they must have done a major enough rewrite for them to get an and credit. If you see the ampersand sign, that means it's a writing team. That means these two people always write together. They decided at the beginning they were writing together, so they both get the same kind of credit. So don't look at your revisions or even rewrites if you get to that place. If you're at a place where you're like, look, I need a page 1 rewrite, you can talk to me about that too. But don't look at it as if it's like a moment of failure, of I couldn't do it. You just have to know your strengths and weaknesses and then partner with a person like me who can fill in the gaps. That's all it means. All right. So today only, we got 3 more minutes. Well, 2.5. Today only, $50. So that means that you will send me your script in final draft so that I can, right? If you're doing coverage, then you can send it to me as a PDF. All right. Does anybody have any other questions for me before we go? This is still your time. You got 2 minutes and I'm here for you. I appreciate you spending some time with me on your Saturday. I know because I'm on Pacific time, most of you are a little bit further along in your day. So I don't know what you had to stop to do to come hang out with me, but I appreciate that. Just looking over here to make sure I'm not missing anything. Looks like we're pretty quiet over there. So my email address, I'm going to put it in here too, just in case, even though everybody should have received an email from me. If someone has an idea story but doesn't want to write it, how do they go about getting it to a studio? Good question. I always tell people Hollywood is the largest gated community of the world. If you don't have the access code, you can't get in. It's just that simple. So you need an agent. Well, how do you get an agent? Great question. It's a big circle that goes like this. Agents do not accept unsolicited materials. So if you don't know anyone who can get you in front of that agent, then how do you get your stuff in the room? So I would suggest network. Like if you're not going to write it, if you were to write something and you were looking for an agent or looking to get into a room, then there are programs you can apply to, and there are film festivals that you can apply to that promise to get you into a room with someone. If you're just the idea person, then you may need to find the writer first. Maybe find a writer who does have an agent. Maybe find a writer who does have someone who can help them get into the room, because it's all about getting into the room and everyone gets in there differently. The thing about this gated community is everybody got in their own way. There is no, if you do this and do this and do this, there will be success. Everybody's getting in different kind of ways. So if you just have an idea, maybe find someone who can write it. Maybe they've got some ways in, and if not, then get out there and start networking, start meeting producers, start putting yourself in the right position to be in the same room with them socially. So I don't mean like the room as in their office this time. I mean like socially. Thank you, Dwayne. I appreciate it. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question, Amma, even though it's probably not the answer that you wanted, but it's the truth. This big gated community is crazy. So hopefully that at least kind of gives you a little insight, but get out there, network, and meet people and see who those people know to be able to get you to a person who will listen to your ideas. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Please have a good rest of your Saturday. If you have a life, I will be living vicariously through you. I don't plan to do a thing. Well, I'm lying. I have boxes because I just moved to LA that I need to open. It's like 5 or 6 boxes over there that have just been staring at me for a few days. So I'm going to open them. Hopefully when I push in stream, it's actually going to record and you'll be able to come back and look at it if you missed anything at the top. All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye.